Okay, in this video, I'm going to introduce you to our two gateways, IPFS Gateway and DApp Gateway. Now, IPFS means something in the blockchain community. It stands for Interplanetary File System, and so does DApp. DApp stands for Distributed Application. Now, one of the reasons that 99.9% of all the blockchain projects from 2017, 18, and 19 failed is because blockchain technologies are awful to use, and the programming languages that they use, that programmers decided they would build front-end applications to the blockchain with are awful. They're hard to use. You need to be a programmer. That's not good for web design. So in order to allow web developers to do what they do well, which is create really nice websites, and then blockchain programmers to do what they do well, which is work on the cryptography and the NFTs and the stuff in the background, we need a gateway. Alchemy went out and raised all this money based on building a gateway. They're going to be building a gateway in the future. We already have a gateway. So we started this back in 2017, 2018 as a way to use programming languages that I actually liked instead of using these crappy programming languages that blockchain developers decided they want to use. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do IPFS Gateway. Now this is the gateway from your website to IPFS, which stands for Interplanetary File System. There's two things you need to do, and there's two API calls. One is put, meaning you want to put something onto the IPFS network, or the other is get, which means you want to read something from the IPFS get network. So I'm going to go back to the home page. And if you go to, this is what you get when you go to ipfsgateway.io. So the first thing I want to do is I want to search IPFS for a hash or an identifier. So I happen to have an example one here on the website. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy. I'm going to paste this. Now when I hit lookup, what this is going to do is it's going to actually go to our server, which is part of our infrastructure. Then it is going to go, it's going to download this hash from IPFS, and then it's going to present it on the screen. Simple enough. Look how easy that was. If I want to just hit start over, I can grab another one. Now that's grabbing something from IPFS, which if you have a NFT store and you want to display your NFTs that you're selling, you're going to need to do that very often. Your other option is to make a copy of all the images and have them on the website. That's really not the good way to go. So what I want to do now is I want to upload an image. So what I'll do is I'll hit upload. Now what I'm going to do here is I got to give it a file name. So first I'm going to go choose my file so I can decide what the name needs to be. And I'm going to choose the little donkey, hit open, and then I'm just going to call it little donkey with no spaces and no extension, because the program's going to figure out from the extension that you upload what the extension needs to be. Okay, so then I need to put in my email. This is just so that you can't do this with robots, because we're going to send an email for every time we upload. I agree to the terms of service. I hit upload, and I have success. So now I have a new hash. I have two other things. I have an IPFS hash, and I have the full URI that I would use if I'm creating NFTs. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this, hit Control C. I'm going to go back to home, and now I'm going to paste that in and do a lookup, and sure enough, there is the little donkey that I just uploaded. Okay, so that is IPFS Gateway. Now that does not look like very much, but that is an amazing amount of code that went into doing that. Because we have to run an IPFS server that is on the IPFS network, and then we had a bunch of conversion programs that let me upload the files, and then I push it up to IPFS in the background, or I read it from IPFS in the background, and then come up with a system for actually being able to use the data once it gets retrieved. So now the next thing is the DApp gateway. Now the DApp gateway is your interface, and you notice it looks pretty much like the IPFS gateway. I did that on purpose because I'm using the same template for both. In this case, what we're doing is we want to execute something on the blockchain from a website, and we want to really do it without coding. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a contract. So we're going to do something with this contract. Now, every contract has a thing called an ABI. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go back and I'm going to cut and paste an ABI for a contract. This happens to be the ABI for our smart contract for ARTFIN on Binance. So now I've pasted that into contract address and I hit submit. Okay, so now what it does is it's going to generate, based on the ABI that I just passed in, it's going to generate some forms that I can use. So now I'm going to mint a token. Okay, so what I want to do is I'm going to send a token to myself. So I got to go up here, I got to grab my address, copy that to clipboard. So I'm going to mint a token to myself, and I'm going to use as the URI, I'm going to use the URI that I just created over here. So I'm going to take the little donkey. Now, this is not a valid, this is not going to be a valid NFT because I'm not uploading the right kind of file, but it's good enough to show. So when I hit paste, now when I click on mint, I get a couple messages that I'll get rid of. Now what it does is it brings up MetaMask, asks me to confirm. And now I've actually done, and I've actually minted a new token using this smart contract, and then it uses this ABI. So I've got any functions that I load the ABI for. If I've got a contract and the variables that I need, here's my confirmed transaction, and I can run it through the dApp gateway.io. So this is also an API which allows us to, what this is going to allow us to do is in our stores and whatever front ends we want to develop, we can interface with the blockchain without having to go through a whole bunch of crazy garbage. Again, this is part of our middleware, and this is one of the most valuable pieces of technology we have for ARTFIN.